zip up your members-only jacket, crack open a tab, and pause your Walkman as we bring you to the 1980s.
That's right. Welcome to the 80s Show podcast, where we talk about all things 1980s. From movies to TV shows, music and stars, fads and fashions, we'll talk about anything and everything to do with the 1980s.
The 80s, the best decade in decades.
That's right. We are your hosts. My name is Bill Lassiter, alongside Damian Raffelli. Welcome to episode 2 of the 80s Show podcast. Damian, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, Bill.
All right. So go ahead and you can follow us on Twitter at 80 Show Podcast. That's at 80 Show Podcast. You can also email us at 80showpodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well. So hopefully you can find us that way. So what's on the docket for today's show, Damian?
Well, we've got a couple things we're going to talk about, everything to do with the 80s. First of all, we're going to do an 80s trivia question. Bill's going to try and stump me on something 80s.
That's right.
We're going to then talk about the age-old question, what happened to Steve Guttenberg?
Ooh, I can't wait to hear about that. And also, we're going to talk about 80s urban legends. We've got an urban legend we're going to talk about that came about in the 1980s, and we're going to, talk about that. So,
just in time for Halloween.
Just in time for Halloween. He's you're foreshadowing, aren't you, Damian? I don't know what the podcast term is for foreshadowing, but that's what you just did right now.
I think it's foreshadowing.
Is it still foreshadowing?
I believe it's still foreshadowing, even in podcasting.
Okay. I don't know if there's like proper lingo for podcast lingo for foreshadowing.
I'll look it up on the podcast Scrabble Dictionary.
All right, Dave, so we're going to kick it off today with an 80s trivia question.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, you ready for this? Okay.
Bring it.
So, a lot of the movies today we watch, they have a lot of computer graphics, computer animation in it, whether it's the Avengers or, any of the Marvel movies, really.
Do we even use humans anymore, or is it just strictly CGI?
I'm not sure if Tom Cruise is alive anymore. I don't know. The Scientologist may have an answer for that. I don't know, but
he looks the same. But he does.
he does look the same.
He runs purely on L. Ron Hubbard's Scientology.
That's right. That's right. So my question is, if you know, what was the first Disney animated film to use CGI? Now, it did happen in the 1980s, and I'm going to give you multiple choice on this. So, again, you're thinking Disney movie, Disney animated film to use CGI, the first one. So, was it Oliver and Company, Fox and the Hound, An American Tail, or Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
That's a tough one. Now, those are all Disney films?
Those are all Disney films, yep. All 4 of those are Disney films, so I didn't want you to think about whether it was a Disney film or not a Disney film.
Okay, so it's not a trick question. I'm surprised that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a Disney film. It doesn't seem like one. However...
they have a whole... In Toontown at Disneyland, they have a whole Roger Rabbit ride there, so it is Disney.
That should have been my first clue. Yeah. I remember when that opened.
That's
right.
We
used to go in college. We ditched class. We went to college in Orange County, not far from Anaheim, and we used to ditch class, and we would actually go to Toontown.
See us get degrees, people.
Enough said. So, I'm just going to go with Who Framed Roger Rabbit just because of Jessica Rabbit. Va, va, boom.
Yeah, you know what? You would think there's some enhancements with Jessica Rabbit, and they may have used computer graphics on that. However, the first movie, Disney animated movie to use CGI was indeed The Fox and the Hound.
Really?
Yes, that's right. And so the crazy thing about The Fox and the Hound is it actually cost Disney $11 million to make, which is $1 million more than Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which we talked about in episode 1. So if you haven't listened to episode 1, go ahead and download that too. So it cost $11 million to make. Some interesting facts about the film. So first of all, it's about Copper and Todd, the hound dog, and the fox. And I really like that. I remember that film from when I was a kid. It's all about friendship. So interesting fact about this is Tim Burton actually did some animation on Fox and the Hound, but was uncredited. Of course, later on, he'd go on to do some other animated films, such as Nightmare Before Christmas, and he did Edward Scissorhands. All those. I think Tim Burton's got his own section of movies, or.
So does that mean Johnny Depp was in it as well?
So Johnny Depp was not in Fox and the Hound.
I think he's pretty much in every Tim Burton movie.
It could be, but he was not in this one. However, there were some big stars back then that were in there. So Kurt Russell was a voice actor in it. Also Mickey Rooney. I don't remember Mickey Rooney.
He was old then.
I think they recorded his voice when he was old in the 60s and then just played it in the 80s. I'm not sure. But yeah, Mickey Rooney was in it. Now, Jack Albertson, which you probably don't know who that is.
That name does not sound familiar. Sorry.
So he's not the co-founder of Albertson's grocery stores. Jack Albertson was actually the grandpa in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
love
Grandpa
that.
Joe. Grandpa Joe.
Was he the one that slept head or toe to Charlie?
I'm not sure which one that was.
Because that's not creepy at all. A family where the grandparents sleep with the grandchild.
Damien,
they were totally normal.
They were poor. They were.
I grew up poor, and I still didn't sleep with my grandparents, Bill.
Good point. And finally, a big 80s star that was in Fox and the Hound was none other than Corey Feldman.
Oh, Corey Feldman.
Yep.
Did I ever tell you the story about when I met Corey Feldman?
Only about 100 times. Why don't you go and tell the people, Damian?
Okay, I think every episode I'm going to have one of my random Damian stories about meeting an 80s actor.
Yeah, it didn't really happen, but go ahead, Damian.
Okay, and I'm going to use the word meet loosely.
I understand.
All right, so I was in Las Vegas because this was probably sometime in the 90s. I believe I was in college, maybe grad school. I was with our good friend Marty, who we went to college with.
Right.
We're coming back from Vegas back to California, where we went to the convenience store to gas up, get some Red Bulls for the drive. We're hungover, of course.
Snacks, because Damian loves snacks on the road trip. He loves having junk food on the road trip.
I do. I love junk food, especially when I'm hungover driving back from Vegas for the 8-hour drive when in traffic.
Yeah.
When it should be a 3-hour drive.
That's right.
So we're at the convenience store not far from the Strip, and I'm about to pay for my items, my snacks, and my Red Bull and my candy, whatever I have. And I'm about to, to step up to the cash register, and somebody steps in front of me and cuts me off. And I was about to say, hey, what the hell are you doing? It's a little steps in front of me.
Right.
But as I'm about to say that, I look and I realize it's Corey Feldman.
Oh, man.
I was just in shock. First of all, he's really skinny. He's very petite.
Could be the drugs.
It could be the drugs. And he was wearing lifts. Not like it was like heels, but lifts. And so he's very, very short. Even with the lifts on, he was very short.
Wow.
And so that was my Corey Feldman story.
Wow, that was a great story, Damian. If you have a Corey Feldman story, we'd love to hear it. Go ahead and hit us up on Twitter at 80 Show Podcast. That's at 80 Show Podcast. So Corey Feldman did voice one of the characters.
Wait, the most important part of that story I forgot, Bill, was he wasn't driving. You know why he wasn't driving? His wife was driving?
Because he doesn't have a license to drive.
Exactly.
Boom!
Corey Haim has the license to drive.
Corey Haim does have the license to drive. Poor, God bless his soul, Corey Haim. So, there you go. So now you know, people, the first Disney animated film to have CGI was The Fox and the Hound, starring a very petite Corey Feldman, apparently. So there you have it.
That's no ordinary piece of paper. That is a driver's license. And it's not only a driver's license, it's an automobile license.
All right, next on the 80 Show Podcast, we are going to ask the age-old question, whatever happened to, and today's topic is whatever happened to the great actor Steve Guttenberg. Steve Guttenberg, yes. Damian, why don't you talk a little bit about this?
That's a great question. A couple of years ago, actually, I asked myself that very question. I was watching an old 80s movie, probably Police Academy, which I absolutely love.
Sure.
And I said, whatever did happen to Steve Guttenberg? He was huge in the 80s. He was everywhere. He was ubiquitous for 80s comedies.
It's a big word, people.
That is a big word, and that's why it was very difficult for me to say.
Yeah.
I had to look that one up, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up now.
All right, so let's look at Steve Guttenberg. His nickname is The Goot.
Okay.
And, I'm sure that's a big stretch. I have no idea where that nickname came from or what it means.
Well, it's weird because his name is actually spelled Guttenberg, but they say Gutenberg, so that's weird.
It's pronounced Guttenberg, actually. His real name is Stephen Guttenberg.
No, but I always hear it's Steve Guttenberg, so it's not pronounced Guttenberg.
Well, when he went to Hollywood, one of the first agents he met with didn't like Guttenberg. He said, why don't you change it to be like the Bible, Gutenberg? And so he did.
Okay, there you have it.
And of course, the agent refused to work with him, but he still
That's awesome.
changed his name. In fact, when he first got to Hollywood, most agents said, you're never going to make it, kid. You don't look like a movie star. But he just kept at it. And let me tell you what a hustler he is.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
So at 17, he's living in New York on Long Island with his parents.
Okay.
He's even going to, are you going to believe this, Bill? He went to Juilliard.
Well, that's like the world-renowned acting school, right? Is a performing arts school, acting school?
Absolutely. These are people who usually go on to stage actors, screen actors, but very serious actors.
Now, Damian, here's the thing. I've seen Steve Guttenberg's movies. I've seen his commercials. I've seen his bits on different, public things that you can find on the internet. I would not classify Steve Guttenberg as a classically trained actor.
I'm going to go with you. I've seen a lot of his work, especially in research for this.
Seems like a great guy. Seems like a guy you would like to have a beer with and sit down and talk with. But man, acting chops, I'm not sold yet. Not sold yet.
I don't think he's Juilliard's finest. He does have a star on the Walk of Fame, though, in Hollywood.
I did see that. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's right next to the famous people like Donald Trump, I think.
There you go. He's a good actor, too.
Oh,
Hashtag politics.
All right. Oh, another thing he did when he first met with an agent is, his agent was talking about changing his name, and he thought about changing his name to Johnny Venture.
Steve Guttenberg's a much better name than Johnny Venture. Johnny Venture sounds like a name you'd have in a porno movie. I mean, that's basically what that's what it sounds like. Johnny Venture.
Sounds like he's in the Valley making adult films.
Yeah, it would either be that or a good WWF star.
Ooh, I like that.
Coming from the top rope, Johnny Venture. Right?
Boom, giving him the people's goot.
Yeah, give him the goot.
All right. Oh, and so he flew out here. He had a family friend, I guess was a friend of his godfather. A godfather kind of showed him the ropes. He said at the time he had $300 in his pocket. All right. And this is about 1975, so it's decent money.
Some cash, yeah.
He also had his father's briefcase, and more importantly, he had salami from his mom. He had the pocket salami, and that's not a euphemism.
I don't even know if I can comment on salami from your mom.
Everybody's got to have the pocket salami.
Pocket salami. All right. So Gutenberg's got $300, a briefcase, and pocket salami.
So yeah, so he's gnawing on the pocket salami. He rolls up to Paramount Studios, the Paramount lot.
Okay.
He's fresh off the boat, as you would say, or fresh off the bus in L.A. And he decides, just going to walk on the Paramount lot and get myself a job. This is the kind of hustler he is.
Now, wait, how old was he at the time?
17.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
So he walks up to the security shack, and apparently you just cannot walk onto the Paramount lot. But maybe this is where his Juilliard training came in. He convinced the security guard that, get this, he's the stepson of the Paramount, the top Paramount exec, who at the time was Michael Eisner.
So he strolls onto the lot and says, "I'm Michael Eisner's stepson."
Yeah, and not surprisingly, the security guard's not buying it.
Okay. Well, I would think he would be buying it just based on his acting chops.
Yeah, exactly. And so the security guard's about to start making some calls around the lot to see, does this kid have permission? And so Steve Guttenberg says to the security guard, "Listen, I'm supposed to be in a meeting with my father. You're going to make me late. Just give me your name. So when my father asks me, why was I late, I'm going to give him your name."
So basically, Steve Guttenberg lied and blackmailed his first 5 minutes into Hollywood.
Exactly. And it worked out.
Nice.
So the security guard, of course, is scared that this kid is telling the truth, doesn't want to get in trouble, and fired by the head of the studio. And so he lets Scoot onto the lot.
Wow. So a little known fact about Damian and Bill here. We were once security guards in college, and I could see someone could talk us into anything, I'm sure. We would have let anybody into anywhere in college as security guards.
Let's just say we were not the most attentive security guards.
Played a little Nintendo while we were on duty there. So
yeah,
all right.
we did it for the minimum wage.
All right, so let's tell us a little bit more about his time at Paramount.
Okay, so he sneaks onto the lot. He finds an open office, And again, this is the mid 70s. Things aren't. There's no computers. That's why it was easy for him to get on.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was, I guess, some kind of electrician or something. His dad had shown him a few things. He figures out how to wire the office that he finds, this empty office. He wires it for electricity and phones.
Wow.
Then he goes over to the prop department. He requisitions some furniture, office furniture, and charges it to the Happy Days account.
That is awesome.
And what's funny about that is, he does a movie with Ron Howard a few years later.
Oh,
a couple movies.
Cocoon was as Ron Howard directed, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
So I'm sure they had some laughs over
I'm sure. That's great. That's great. So he takes over this office and then gets his big break, yeah?
Well, he did have a little bit of the Weinstein experience.
Wow.
Little Weinstein casting couch. So, again, he's about 17, 18. He gets invited over by a studio producer to, of course, come over and meet him and to audition at his house, the producer's house. And the producer happens to be out by the pool.
Uh-huh.
And a young...
And the producer, she's laying by the pool.
He's laying by the pool.
Oh, okay. Did not see that one coming. Curveball.
And so young Steve Guttenberg, very good shape. The producer asked him to start doing push-ups by the pool. And being young and naive, Gutenberg starts to do it until he realizes this doesn't seem right and extricates himself from the situation.
I wonder, push-up like 1, 2, like what push-up number was it? It was like, okay, this is not right.
Yeah, it seemed a little bit off.
Okay.
But, he did become famous after that. So,
well, there you go.
We'll see. He says nothing happened. We don't know. So that brings us to his first big break, which was a KFC commercial.
Okay. Yeah, so I saw some information about this online, and so what was cool about Steve Guttenberg was he got this role with the KFC commercial with Colonel Sanders.
The Colonel.
Harlan Sanders, Colonel Sanders. And Colonel Sanders really liked Steve Guttenberg because he was young, vivacious, and strong. And the reason the Colonel knew he was strong was because he literally had to hold the Colonel up during the commercial shoot, prop him up. And so...
The Colonel was a little older and ill, and he had to.
That's pretty... I saw that. That was pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So Damian and I also did some research, and we found some other commercials that he was in, including he did a commercial for Honda Moped. He did one for Stanley Tools, Coca-Cola, Windex, which is pretty great. But then also Dentyne. The Dentyne commercial is the one that sticks out of my mind. Because basically, you want me to talk about this, Damian? Or you?
Yeah, let's just say it was the late 70s.
It was really creepy. Yeah, it was late 70s. It's pretty creepy. He's playing the older brother of this high school aged girl,
and he's sporting the big fro. He's got a huge fro.
He's got a big fro in the commercial, and his little sister's going to go on a date. And so Steve Guttenberg gives her some Dentyne because Dentyne is adult's gum, and she's going to want to have her breath fresh for her date. So basically, Steve Guttenberg's Dentyne commercial was him pimping out his sister.
You're not a kid anymore. Take my Dentyne.
Why Dentyne?
Dentyne's got a snappy, tingly, grown-up flavor. Great for your breath, makes your mouth taste clean, not sweet.
And that's good?
What? You'll find that out soon enough.
Yeah, and he was about to give her the bird and the bees talk before the boyfriend showed up.
That was, it is creepy. 30 seconds. If you got time, check out Dentyne commercial. Steve Guttenberg. It's pretty. That's pretty craptastic, actually.
Yeah, just type that into the Google machine. It's worth it.
All right. So what happens after his commercial breakthroughs?
So he does a lot of commercial work, like we said, but his first big break in movies was in 1980, Can't Stop the Music.
Okay. So Can't Stop the Music. I'm unfamiliar with this movie.
You can't stop the music, but apparently you can stop disco.
Yeah, so we saw the first couple minutes of the... Well, did you watch the whole movie, Damian?
No.
Okay, because, God bless you if you did. We watched the first couple minutes, and Can't Stop the Music is definitely a disco movie. It is about disco, I'm guessing, because Steve Guttenberg is wearing some white jeans or pants.
Tight white jeans.
Tight white, yes, very tight white pants. An Izod shirt tucked in.
A tight green Izod shirt.
And you would think that, that sounds like you'd be dancing in the streets of New York. Nope. He wasn't dancing. He was roller skating all throughout downtown New York.
And
New
we're
York
talking
City.
sweet roller skates, not rollerblades, roller skates.
Roller skating. And he
the
is...
stopper on the front, everything.
Oh, he is just having a great time with his little transistor radio, putting on the moves. It is... Now, that is something that you should look up, people, is the opening credits for
Do
Can't Stop
yourself
the
a
Music.
favor. And so the movie stars the Village People. It's all about the Village People.
Of course.
And the funny thing about this is the movie was made in 1979, but it was released in 1980. They just missed the disco craze.
Right, yeah.
And so, you can kind of see it even in the opening, couple minutes that we saw. It's kind of got that blend of disco and 80s, and it just totally bombed. The budget was $23 million. You know how much they made at the box?
Oh, so if they made it for $23 million, so you got it probably $30 million. They probably made $7 million on it.
$2 million they made,
Oh, good
not
Lord.
in profit. $2 million at the box office.
Wow. Yep.
Steve Guttenberg was not enough to draw at this box office, but I just got to say he was pretty good in the opening scene. It was fun.
Well, and I'm surprised because another character that you see at the beginning, besides the Village People and Steve Guttenberg, that you see at the first onset of this movie, is and the credits even say, and introducing
Bruce Jenner.
Yep, 70s heartthrob, Bruce Jenner.
Now, of course, Caitlyn Jenner.
Yep, that's right. And so I'm surprised, and shockingly enough, Bruce Jenner is wearing a half shirt and cut off Daisy Duke shorts.
Yeah, they're a crop top shirt, and you can only describe them as Daisy Duke shorts.
I don't. Yeah. So he was
Just
comfortable. I don't know.
Strutting down the
Say
street
about
in New
that.
York with the Village People. That's
right.
awesome.
That's right. So the other cool thing about this movie is that it was the inspiration in creating the Golden Raspberry Awards, which of course go to the worst movies and actors every year. And this was the very first movie, Steve Guttenberg, award-winning actor.
So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, so that movie won the first ever Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture. All right, so what happened after the music was stopped?
Hey, so do you remember the made-for-TV movie The Day After?
Oh yeah, that's like nuclear holocaust stuff, right?
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I still have night terrors from that. That movie terrorized and traumatized a generation.
It's funny how that movie terrorized us, but you know what didn't terrorize us? Red Dawn.
Wolverines.
Wolverines. Cue the Wolverines soundbite.
Wolverines!
All right, so after scaring all of us, telling us nuclear war was going to happen, the lovable Steve Guttenberg then makes his big break. In 1984, he does the feature film Police Academy.
Awesome. Yep. Loved Police Academy movies.
Those are some of my favorites growing up. And, I watched Police Academy 1 and 2 the other week in preparation for this.
Yes.
My favorite thing about the movie, it's all boobs and BJs. And so now I know why I liked it as a kid.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Why not? Jeez. Yeah, I should probably watch that. Probably not with my kids. I should probably watch it first by myself so I can see if it's appropriate, right?
Yeah, but with the internet these days, I'm sure they've seen worse.
Not my kid. Not my kids.
So the budget for this was $4 million. And unlike Can't Stop the Music, do you know how much they made from this one?
Like $40 million.
$81 million.
Oh, wow.
And that's
Wow.
in 1984 dollars.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So, if you were to look at that in 2018 dollars, it would have been about a $10 million budget and about $197 million at the box office.
Wow, $200 million movie. That's pretty dang good. Well, they had the other thing I remember about the Police Academy movies is some of the stars are in there. Bubba Smith from the NFL is in there. Michael Winslow, who does all the voices and stuff. Kim Cattrall she was like the love interest of Steve Guttenberg to begin with, right?
Yeah, she was one of the other cadets from one of my favorite shows, Sex and the City.
Yep, there you go.
I love to have a nice Cosmo as I'm watching Sex and the City, watching Carrie and all the antics.
Yeah, who doesn't? And of course, Commandant Lassard, which is played by George Gaines, who is also went on to more exciting 80s fame playing Punky Brewster's adopted father in Punky Brewster, the TV show.
I loved Punky Brewster, and he was great in this too. I think he was in all the Police Academy movies as well. He was one of the few people who were in all the Police Academy movies.
There you go.
So did you know that when he went to the audition, Guttenberg wore his dad's old police uniform. I guess his dad was a New York City cop for a while.
Oh, nice.
So he actually wore that to the audition. So, maybe Juilliard is, he's living it. He's a little bit like Daniel Day-Lewis, where, he gets into his acting role. And what is that method called when you do that?
It's called method acting.
Oh, it's called method acting. There you go. That's what it is.
Well, I did see that he competed up against the likes of Billy Crystal, Tom Hanks, Michael Keaton, Jerry Seinfeld, Robin Williams, and Bruce Willis all tried out for the role. And shockingly enough, Steve Guttenberg got it.
I think he was perfect for the role.
I do too.
I really
I actually do too.
And do you know who was a big fan in the 90s of, the 80s, obviously, but more importantly in the 90s of the Police Academy franchise?
I do know this because I just listened to a podcast about this. Bill Clinton used to watch, used to bring people into the White House theater to watch Police Academy.
Yeah, that's right. You're a fan of Slow Burn. In fact, you got me into that podcast.
There we go.
And yeah, so he even told his daughter Chelsea that that got him through some really rough times. I'm sure the Monica Lewinsky scandal. He's probably not talking to Chelsea about that, but
yeah, that'd be kind of weird.
Hey,
remember the girl that I used to hook up with? Really hard time for me. So now I watch these movies with boobs and BJs, as Damian said.
So Police Academy, loved by presidents and paupers like us alike.
There you go.
He goes on through the 80s to do a lot more. So he does I think of the first 4 Police Academy movies out of the 6.
Right.
They all do pretty well at the box office. Of course, not as well as the first. He goes on to do a couple other huge franchises in the 80s. Cocoon, which you mentioned earlier. Cocoon and the Cocoon Returns. And then he also did Short Circuit.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love Short Circuit. Well, it's a little... So I watched Short Circuit recently.
Yeah, my wife Kara and I did that. We tried to watch it.
Yeah. It does not, stand up to the test of time. It does not. But...
Yeah, the actor who plays the Indian boy, that's very racist.
Yep. Mr. Johnny Five. Yeah, that was my impression. That was my impression of a guy doing an impression of an Indian accent. Please do not send your hate mails to me.
Basically in brown face.
Well, the cat is dragged in a sack for 4 eyes, that is for sure. I am thinking she is a virgin. Or at least she used to be.
Yep.
Oh,
absolutely,
the 80s.
Absolutely.
Then he does 1989. He's in that Michael Jackson video, Liberian Girl.
Oh, it's freaking terrible.
And with the Liberian Girl, when we were watching it, Bill told me, he's like, hey, this I think is the... what did you say?
Oh, so this has got to be the inspiration behind Aldous Snow's fictitious character from Get Him to the Greek. His video, African Child, which was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Oh, yeah, it was... That was pretty terrible too.
I'm pretty sure that this was the inspiration for
I think you're right. Well, you know what? Back up a little bit because he was also in 3 Men and a Baby in 1987.
Oh, the other big franchise. I forgot about that. That one was, that was huge.
He had like 3 big franchises in the 80s with Police Academy, 3 Men and a Baby, and the sequel 3 Men and a Little Lady, and then Short Circuit and Cocoon.
Yeah,
Cocoon, right? Yeah.
And right in there, he married a model. Denise Bixler in 1988. They divorced in 1992. But yeah, he was in a bunch of major franchises in the 80s. And what I really like about Steve Guttenberg is basically the 80s bookend his career. He starts really in 1980 with Can't Stop the Music and basically ends in 1990, which is, filmed in 1989 with 3 Men and a Little Lady.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, and then basically... poof, he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah, you didn't see anything in the I don't remember anything in the 1990s or anything like that. So he's got this big explosion onto the scene in the 1980s, disappears. So Damian, what happened?
Yeah, and he was the 80s. So yeah, where did he go? Well, in 2012, he wrote a book, his memoir, aptly called The Guttenberg Bible.
Of course it is.
See what he did there?
Yep. That's nice. Even though it's spelled Guttenberg.
That's true. It's the Guttenberg Bible.
The Guttenberg Bible,
technically.
Yep.
So, in there and through some interviews that Bill and I watched and our crack research team looked into this.
Our research budget is through the roof, guys.
It is, yeah. We have internet. So some of the reasons, and I did not read the Guttenberg Bible. I'm dedicated enough to watch some of his movies, but I didn't get time to read
yeah, that doesn't surprise me, David. You couldn't even get through Short Circuit. So.
That's true. I guess my commitment is a little shaky.
There you go.
So some of the reasons he stated for walking away were, he wanted to do, this is kind of the pat answer, he wanted to do some independent films, maybe do some theater, which he did.
Which, Juilliard School, yeah.
Yeah, and he did do an off-Broadway play with Woody Allen.
Okay, there you go.
And he did some other plays. He also said he wanted to spend more time with his family, which, of course, a little bit of a pat answer, but he seems like a family man. Wanted to be back in New York, in Long Island with his family.
Sure.
Because he has a place in New York and he has one in Pacific Palisades where he used his, I think it was his police academy money to buy a really nice house in Pacific Palisades, which is a fancy suburb of LA. And he still splits his time between there. And he also sees himself as an artist, so he realizes when you're an artist, your career goes up and down.
Yeah.
He also said he didn't really like the culture of Hollywood. He didn't feel like he fit in. I think, he really is a nice guy, I think, and he didn't like that cutthroat nature of Hollywood. He did say, which is interesting, he may have let fame go to his head a little bit, or at least he felt like it was maybe changing him as a person.
Right.
He said in the Guttenberg Bible that he was with a lot of women in the 80s. He's single guy, he's a star, I understand.
Star,
yeah. One of the funniest stories that he relates is he was in his early 20s, living in LA, partying really hard, and one morning he wakes up on the beach in Marina del Rey in a full suit. Next to a little kid who's making a sandcastle, and he wakes up.
That's so good. That actually seems like something that you would see in a movie, in a Steve Guttenberg movie, right?
Yeah,
this guy partying, and then next scene you see is in a suit on the beach, and some kid building a sandcastle next to him. Yeah,
I would have loved to party with Steve Guttenberg in the 80s. Of course, I'd have been like 12 years old, but
that would have been kind of creepy.
Yeah, that'd have been a little weird.
He would have been having you do push-ups
by the pool.
Yeah, so and I kind of kid about his Juilliard, resume or whatever, but he in his interviews he generally seems like a really nice dude. Like he would be just a nice guy to hang out with.
I'd love to go have a few beers with him and wake up on the beach.
A few hundred beers with him and wake up on the beach. Yeah. Why not? All right, so what's he done since 3 Men and a Little Lady? Like what other
besides
entertainment stuff?
Besides stage and things we talked about, he did. I found that he did a movie in 1997. I believe it was a Disney movie called Zeus and Roxanne.
Oh yeah, I have no idea what it's about.
Well, the only thing I could gather from the movie, it's about a dolphin who falls in love with a dog. I'm dead serious. I think that's what it's about.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. Yeah. Zeus and Roxanne. There you go. The dolphin dog romance.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that didn't
interspecies love.
Yeah, that didn't bring him right back into.
That's weird. That's strange.
To Hollywood. I didn't see that in the Oscars or the Golden Globes or People's Choice. I'm surprised. So he did some TV work, Veronica Mars, a lot of people who I'm not a big fan of it, but Dancing with the Stars, he was on that. And he did. I don't think he did very well on that, but he was on that. And then now he's engaged to a news anchor in New York, who's about 20 years younger than him,
of course.
And so he's also done a couple movies for the Sci-Fi Network.
Ooh, yeah. I'm a quality sci-fi movies come out of the Sci-Fi Network.
Hey, I'm a huge sci-fi fan. Kara, my wife, and I are huge sci-fi fans. We're big Sharknado fans, too. Have you seen any of these Sharknado movies? I think there's like 6 now.
No.
Okay. So those are also sci-fi movies. A lot of 80s, 90s actors in
I've seen pieces of them, yeah.
So he did not do Sharknado. Well, he did do a cameo in one of them. But he did his big movies for the Sci-Fi Network were called Lava Lantula and To Lava Lantula is the follow-up.
Lava Lantula. Okay,
it's exactly what it sounds like.
Okay, let me guess. It's a fire-breathing or lava-spewing spider tarantula?
You got it.
Oh, wow.
Just like the name implies.
Wow.
It's a lava-breathing tarantula.
Just like Sharknado is about a shark-infested tornado. Okay.
Yes. And, so he plays Colton West in those, and he does do a quick cameo as Colton West in one of the Sharknado movies. And I think it was Sharknado 4. One of the funny things, I didn't watch Lava Lantula, but I did watch the follow-up to Lava Lantula. Was I sober? No, absolutely not. That's the only reason I was able to make it through about half of this movie. This is no police academy, let me tell you. And I love Steve Guttenberg, but this movie I cannot recommend. other than the fact that there's a lot of 80s callbacks. So in the two of the movies, a couple of the alums from Police Academy were in it. Michael Winslow, the guy who does all the voices.
Yeah.
Marianne Ramsey, who plays Hooks.
Little tiny.
Yeah,
Hooks.
she's a little petite one. Has that.
And then she gets out. Yeah, she goes out.
Exactly. So they got the other Police Academy actors in there, and his character Colton West is an actor who's playing a police officer. So he's in a police uniform, just like Police Academy.
That's pretty good.
They do another scene where it's like Crockett and Tubbs from Miami Vice.
Nice.
And then they have a character called Alligator Dundee.
Alligator Dundee. Gotcha.
So
Nice.
some great 80s throwbacks, which are great.
Okay, maybe I should check out some of these movies.
Hey, Sci-Fi Network, you can stream it right now.
Okay. I'll get right on that.
Let's talk about the Return of the Goot.
So the Return of the Goot. So we've been, researching this, and Damian. I mean, honestly, Damian's been really obsessed with Steve Guttenberg. I don't know if I think Damian actually does want to do push-ups in front of him, but
I do have a man crush on Steve Guttenberg. I'm not going to lie.
He just seems like a good guy, man. He really does. So, so the big question is, what about a Police Academy either sequel, which would be the 8th, 9th movie of the franchise, so they did a sequel, or an actual reboot? And so that is that's the question being asked: is there going to be a Police Academy reboot or something like that? And so originally, Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele were attached as producers, working with the original producer, Paul Maslansky. We saw that information that was probably about a couple years old, Damian, that we saw the information about Key and Peele.
That sounds right.
And so then we didn't see anything after that. And then just this week, or actually, when was that?
I think it was about 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, someone asked Steve Guttenberg on Twitter if something about Police Academy, and he said, it's 10 a.m. A Paul Maslansky producer meeting is meeting with writers and himself and executives regarding our favorite cadets, which can only mean one thing: Police Academy reboot, I'm guessing. And he mentions, he drops a couple names: David Hornsby and Jared Stern. He says, do those names hit you? And who are those two fine gentlemen?
They're writers, so I looked them up. I wasn't familiar with the names offhand. However, I'm familiar with their work, especially David Hornsby. I'm a huge fan of, have you ever seen the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Oh, yeah, hilarious.
So he plays Rickety Crickets, I think it is, or Crickety Rickets.
Okay.
He plays that character, but he's also, more importantly, a writer on the show.
All right.
And so that kind of sense of humor, I would love to see in the Police Academy movies.
That'd be awesome.
I looked up Jared Stern, and I can't remember what he'd done. It wasn't anything I had seen or liked, but I have a lot of faith in this. The most important thing about this is Paul Maslansky, I think that's how you say his name. Mm-hmm. He was the only producer that was on all 6 Police Academy movies.
Oh, okay.
And so the reason that's important is because he's going to bring that same theme and the same style to this, I think, reboot. So it's not somebody new. It's going to be, it's going to have that. And I do believe it's going to be a reboot, but it's going to still have the same style and the same feel, I believe.
So I wonder if it's going to be a reboot, but Guttenberg did say that he's meeting with writers and himself.
My guess is he plays a Commandant Lassard type character or something.
You think so?
That's my guess.
That would be okay.
I think he's going to play his same character. But I don't think it's really going to be a sequel. It'll be maybe more of a reboot, like 21 Jump Street was.
Okay, gotcha.
Something like that.
Gotcha. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. And there were some other rumors of another sequel, which would actually be the third movie of the series if they actually did it, which is from 3 Men and a Baby, and the sequel 3 Men and a Little Lady. There was reports of a sequel that would be titled 3 Men and a Bride, which would basically be the story of Ted Danson, Tom Selleck, and Steve Guttenberg, marrying off their baby. Her marries her name in the movie,
right?
Having her be married, so kind of like a Father of the Bride type deal, but with those 3 guys being the fathers of the bride, I guess.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that the real actress who played the baby would in real life be in her 30s right now.
Oh wow, man, time flies.
Yeah,
she'd be ready for marriage, I guess.
Yeah, or at least her maybe second or third marriage at this point.
Could be. And then there's also rumors of a reboot for Short Circuit, which would be
unfortunate.
No, I mean, maybe they could do a little bit better job on that, but
I want to see Short Circuit turn into a killer robot, like AI gone wrong.
And then Steve Guttenberg's got to save the day with his Indian friend.
Yeah,
They should actually hire an Indian actor if that were to happen.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I want to see if Guttenberg bring out his fire-breathing tarantulas.
If we combine them all, and then we get the old people to fight off the tarantulas too, that would be awesome from Cocoon.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, because they live forever. I think.
They can't
or something
die,
like
right?
That. They can't die, so they're indestructible. That would have been awesome. Bunch of old people fighting off the lavalantulas.
Oh, have you seen one other thing about Steve Guttenberg? Have you seen on Twitter some of the pictures from Cocoon where he's wearing the shorty shorts?
Yes, I have. Oh,
what's the hashtag? Hanging to the left?
Hanging right or something like that.
I think it's hanging to the left.
Yeah, there's a funny picture.
You can see his junk, and it's hanging to the left.
To the left or to the right, I can't remember, but yeah, it's there.
And Steve Guttenberg has such a great sense of humor on Twitter. He said, "You've got to pick a side."
Very nice. All right, so we hope you enjoyed whatever happened to Steve Guttenberg. What we would like you to do is go ahead and hit us up on Twitter at 80 Show Podcast and let us know if you would like to see a Police Academy reboot or a 3 Men and a Baby sequel. Just let us know your thoughts about that. You can hit us up at Twitter at 80 Show Podcast. You can also email us at 80showpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas of what you think would be a great plot for either of those two, we'd be interested in hearing it. We might even share it on this exciting podcast.
That'd be awesome. All right.
We need some content, so please help us out.
So there we go. Now we know whatever happened to Steve Guttenberg.
Now it's time for 80s urban legends. Bill, do you remember some of these things, kids would tell you, stories like, Mikey from Life Cereal died from eating Pop Rocks and then drinking Coke?
Oh, yeah. There's tons of those urban legends going around in the 80s. And, without the internet or Google or anything like that, there's really no way to verify it. You just... and this, my friend's aunt was at the hospital Richard Gere went into, and he had a gerbil up his butt or whatever. I've heard that one before too. And
that's true.
Someone, was it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. I'm sure it is. I had a neighbor that was a nurse that told me it's true because she worked at the hospital at Richard Gere.
Okay, well, I'll take that one back. I guess that's not an urban legend, but so that's the truth. But I will talk about an urban legend that happened in the 1980s, and actually for me, it came around in the early 90s, but it took the scenario took place in the 80s. So let me talk about this for a second. So when I was in the early 1990s,
this is the 80s show podcast, not the 90s show podcast, Bill.
In 1989 plus 2 years, I was working at my friend's family's video store. The Pritchard family, shout out to the Pritchards, owned a video store called Pick-a-Flick Video.
Pick-a-Flick
Video. Great.
Very
video,
descriptive.
Very good 80s name for a video store.
They're very creative in their naming.
Yep. And it was a great job, as a high school student and stuff. And so, we'd have tons of videotapes on display there. And one day I was working in the store, and a guy came in and wanted to rent 3 Men and a Baby. No problem. The movie had been out for a few years. Go find it, give it to the guy, checks it out. He goes on. And then maybe, 20 minutes later, someone else comes in and says, I'd like to rent 3 Men and a Baby, which is odd because it had been out for a few years. Same movie on a Tuesday, or whatever afternoon it was.
And it's not like, do you remember going to like Blockbuster or Pick-a-Flick Video in your case? And when the first weekend the new movies would be out, there would be like 100 copies.
Yeah.
Of course, you're still lucky if you could even get one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But so it's a couple years later. Do you have like one copy, or how many copies?
Yeah, I think we probably had a couple. We had a couple copies for sure because I remember 2. And so, I asked the guy, I was like, what's how come 3 Men and a Baby? And he said, did you listen to Mark and Brian this morning? I said, no, I'm a high school student. So Mark and Brian was a local radio show, disc jockeys.
Was that K-Rock, or what station were they at?
That was 95.5 KLOS here in Southern California. I know that they were syndicated elsewhere, so other people they even had a TV show for a season.
Did they? Okay, that's before I lived in California.
The Adventures of Mark and Brian. So this customer tells me that he was listening to Mark and Brian radio show, and a lady had called in and said that there is a ghost that you can see in 3 Men and a Baby.
Are you serious? There's actually a ghost in
Yep,
the movie?
there actually is a ghost. It wasn't even part of the plot. There's actually a ghost in the movie. And the story that she told was some worker or something like that had a kid, and the kid died somewhere on set in this building that the movie was filmed in.
Steve Guttenberg didn't kill this kid, did he?
I think it was Ted Danson.
That I could see that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't Tom Selleck, unless his good looks killed the kid. I don't know.
Never trust a man in a toupee.
That's true. So, and always trust a man with a mustache.
Yes, always.
Yeah, Tom Selleck.
Especially if they're as sexy as Tom Selleck.
And so this guy said, yeah, there's supposed to be a ghost and I can't even remember my memory is the 33rd minute of the movie, but I know it's further along in the movie.
It's in about an hour and 1 minute.
It's an hour and 1 minute.
Just off the top of my head.
So that day, we put the videotape in the machine, push play, find the scene, and sure enough...
And what machine? Was it a Betamax or VHS?
It was a VHS. I don't think we even had Betamax.
Betamax is early 80s, yeah.
And so, sure enough, we're watching the scene, and there's a scene where Ted Danson and his mom kind of walk across the room, and in the shadows behind some curtains, you see the ghost.
And, when you first told me this, Bill, I really thought you were full of crap. I mean, honestly, I had never heard this before, seen the movie. And so, Kara and I did a date night last Friday night. And, it's going to be a new thing. We're going to do 80s date night movies.
Yeah. Highly recommend it.
I do, too. So we watched it, and we did see it. I mean, it's very visible. It's right behind kind of like the curtains. You can see there.
Sheer curtains or whatever.
Sheer curtains. And there's clearly somebody standing there. Absolutely. Right. No doubt about it.
And so, of course, being this is early 90s, talking about an 80s movie, I mean, there was no way... The rumors spread like wildfire. I remember going to school the next day and talking about it because, I know it's true because I saw the videotape because I work at Pick a Flick Video, right? And, sorry to burst your bubble, Damian. Turns out that it was not a ghost. Sorry about that. It was actually a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson that was supposed to be used in a scene, but ended up being a deleted scene, and so you never saw that cardboard cutout anywhere else in the movie except for that one little scene. But
so you're trying to tell me it's not a ghost, but what I saw and what Kara and I saw was a cardboard cutout. Let me tell you, Bill, that's what the government wants you to believe.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe the government does want you to believe that. And so what was funny was we did some more research on this, and we saw a Tonight Show episode from 2017 where Jimmy Fallon is interviewing Tom Selleck, and he asked him about the ghost in the movie. And Tom Selleck was pretty funny. He said, well, no, by the way, it was filmed on a sound stage, so it wasn't in someone's house that people thought it was in. But then he did say, well, it's kind of interesting because video sales really picked up after that rumor came out. And so they think, he's like, well, maybe Disney kind of released that rumor that there was a ghost in there, and people, well, they came flocking to Pick a Flick Video to rent that video for sure. And so then of course he goes back on his statement in the interview and says, "Oh, maybe it is a ghost, so go buy." So he must be a producer on the movie or something like that to get a cut.
Probably still gets royalties, I'm sure.
Probably does. So so there you have it, the 80s urban legend of the ghost in 3 Men and a Baby.
But it's sort of an urban legend. You can say that it's been debunked, but we don't have definitive proof. What I saw is a ghost in that frame. You say Tom Selleck and other people say it was a cardboard cutout. I still think it's a ghost.
Well, I tell you what, I looking at your face right now, you're very serious. I swear, I remember watching that video, just rewinding it and watching again, rewinding it and watching again, rewinding it. And I was convinced it was a ghost of like a 14-year-old kid. Like or 12 or 14-year-old kid.
So you probably just wore out that tape. It's got the squiggly. Remember on the VHS when you'd especially after you've watched it many times, all the squiggly lines?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that made it even look more ghostly.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. I'm sure in today's, high-tech, what do they play movies on now these days? digital video discs or laser discs. Is that what they
think it's laser discs,
Laser discs, yeah.
yeah.
Laser discs, you have a little bit clearer quality. From
Yeah, you know.
laser disc.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Halfway through the movie, you turn it over.
Yeah, you got to flip it. You got to flip it.
for
But
sure.
the quality's amazing. It's worth flipping it the disc over.
For sure. So the other, I mean,
Well, you know,
go ahead.
I want to hear what our audience, what our listeners think about it. Do they think do they agree with me and think it's a ghost? Do you agree with Bill and Tom Selleck, who thinks it's a cardboard cutout? Hit us up at Twitter at 80 Show Podcast and let us know. Do you think, just watch it, you know, or I'm sure you can Google it online for that one scene. Tell us if you think it's a government conspiracy covering up a ghost or it's actually just a cardboard cutout. I don't know why there would be a cardboard cutout on a major movie set, you know, behind a curtain. You can obviously see it. What kind of director is going to allow that? I don't think that, you know, it's clearly visible to the director and to the director of cinematography or whoever's, you know, shooting the film.
Yeah, and maybe it's the ghost of Steve Guttenberg's career.
Well, that
Terrible.
was a...
He's never come on the podcast now. That's terrible.
Yeah, he might actually. I'm pretty sure he's less busy than I am.
Wow. Steve Guttenberg, we would love for you to come on the program sometime. I'm sure you're listening right now.
Yeah, we would love to have you in our podcast studio, which is
Damian's spare bedroom.
my guest bedroom with blankets hanging on the wall to absorb the sound.
We have a high budget here at 80 Show Podcast. All right, so people, go ahead, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know if you really think that it is a ghost on 3 Men and a Baby.
Thank you for joining us for 80 Show Podcast. Coming up in our next episode, we've got some more exciting things for you.
Coming up on episode 3 is our recommendations for the best VHS streaming on Netflix and Amazon Prime, as well as we're going to go back in time to 1985 to talk about the Chicago Bears and the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Speaking of going back in time,
Oh boy,
Bill and I are going to do an 80s character battle. We're going to debate who would you rather be, Marty McFly or Ferris Bueller.
that's right. And don't forget to hit us up on social media, everybody. Again, it's on Twitter. It's at 80 Show Podcast. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, 80 Show Podcast, or you can email us at 80showpodcast@gmail.com. Also, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And don't forget to tell your friends about us. Spread the word. Anybody who loves the 80s will love our podcast.
That's right.
I think. They'll
And
they'll at least like it.
Well, they'll put it up.
Enjoy it?
a little bit. Yeah.
Tolerate it?
Sure. Yeah, tolerate. Yeah. All right, that's it for the 80 Show Podcast. For Damian Raffaele and Bill Lassiter. See you at the Blue Oyster.
And give a hoot. Don't pollute. Theme song composed by my good friend, fellow rock star, straight out of Bakersfield. You may also know him from the band Videodrone, Mark Russell Davis. It's time for errors and omissions. I actually caught this one myself while editing and listening to the podcast. I realized I said Police Academy had 6 movies, where in actuality it has 7. I forgot about Police Academy 7, Mission to Moscow. Now, as a true Police Academy fan, I do not consider Police Academy 7 as part of the canon, so technically I'm true. It's just like Godfather 3. Never happened.